Curlin. I'm the CEO and the founder of Objective Management Group. And over the last 28 years, we've evaluated and assessed 1.8 million salespeople, sales managers, and sales leaders. And what a story the data has to tell. If you think about the typical salesperson and why they may enter sales in the first place, it's usually because people say, you're so likable, people love you. But most of those people need their prospects to like them, as opposed to just having the ability to get people to like them. Salespeople who need people to like them run into all kinds of trouble, because the salespeople who need to be liked can't ask a lot of questions because they think it's rude, and then people won't like them. They can't ask tough questions because they think a prospect might hate them. And they can't have the difficult conversation that other people aren't having because they think they'll get thrown out. So as a result, they play it safe, they don't differentiate, they don't gain anyone's respect, and they end up making lots of friends. Among all salespeople, it's 53%, more than half. But the interesting thing is, if you break it down by sales effectiveness, elite salespeople, the top 5%, only 11% of that group has that problem. And if you go down to the weakest 25%, 86% of the weakest salespeople need to be liked. There is a direct correlation between how bad the need to be liked is and how bad someone is as a salesperson. So it's a combination of growing awareness, affirmations, and the most critical part is intervention from sales management. The problem being that 90% of all sales managers suck and are incapable of helping their salespeople overcome something like the need to be liked. I'm impressive and I can get my prospects to respect me. I'm confident and don't need prospects to like me. I have permission to get people to say no to me. That would be 3 quick ones that come to mind that can help them not overcome, not eliminate, but at least manage that weakness early on. The sales manager has to give the salesperson permission to fail. They have to encourage the salesperson to ask a question that gets somebody upset. They have to encourage their salespeople to do the things they're uncomfortable doing without any fear of consequence. And until that safety net is put in place, it's too risky for that salesperson to simply ask a tough question. If a salesperson has the need to be liked and a tendency to become emotional, as soon as the need to be liked kicks in, it triggers the emotional weakness. And then once they become emotional, which means they're listening to themselves talking in their own head, they're no longer listening. So if you can't listen and you can't ask questions, you can't take a consultative approach to selling. And if you can't sell consultatively, you can't differentiate. And if you can't differentiate, it's commodity transactional sales all over again. And we're right back to the 1960s. That is the $1 million question, because I know how long it took me back in the 80s to be able to stay right here and right now. For me, it was a book. I read, this was the book that had more impact on me personally and in my career than any other book. It wasn't a sales book. It wasn't a business book. It was The Way of the Peaceful Warrior by Dan Millman. You become Dan in the book. And as Dan learns to stay in the moment, I learned to stay in the moment. And it's really nothing more complicated than clearing your mind of all thought. And when the mind is clear, you can be right here. You can be right now, and you can focus and listen without thinking ahead of what you need to do next, without thinking about what just happened. And once you can stay in the moment, you have incredible power to move a conversation. But when you're trying to pull a conversation, steer a conversation, it won't go there without pissing people off. It comes in stages. One of the OMG measurements is sales assertiveness. And the sales assertiveness finding looks at, on one end of the pendulum, being too timid, and on the other end of the pendulum, too aggressive. You know, and we've all met these people who are just so obnoxious and so aggressive that you can't stand being around them. So you don't want a salesperson to hit the 180-degree opposite of needing to be liked. You need to have situational awareness. So we want people to be assertive, but not aggressive. To this day, I still ask permission to push back. If I hear something that I have an opportunity to challenge, I will ask a CEO, is it okay if I push back on what you just said? Is it okay if I challenge that thinking? And if you ask permission, the other person's always okay with it, and then anything goes.